the MacArthur Foundation. That's from a 3-year study, and it's I think you can find it under Digital Youth Report at MacArthur Foundation. And it's all about sort of how teens are using this technology for digital learning specifically. And the way they broke it out was that there are two sort of ways that teens use technology. It's either friendship-driven, which is a lot of what we're talking about in terms of socializing, and peer-driven, or interest-driven. And obviously, friendship-driven is the predominant way that teens are using technology. Though there is, this group of passionate teens who are really, really interested in certain things, who are spending time on these sites, who are in these communities that aren't all teen communities. I mean, if you're on DeviantArt, you're in an anime community, or you're in a Harry Potter fandom, you may be with people of all different ages, and you're sort of showing off your skills, and you're learning from people across different ages in those communities in a way that, I'm talking a lot about safety today, but I think in a way that's usually pretty safe and actually pretty validating. So let's talk about fame, validation. I'm sure you all remember, those of you in the 80s remember fame. I mean, I think young people have always wanted or dreamt of having fame and fortune. I think what's different now is that this generation has really grown up with reality TV, with watching people literally confess into a camera and share these personal thoughts and feelings and how annoyed they were at their friend, and get validation and achieve fame for that sort of thing. You have the next top model, the next chef. Anybody can find fame on these shows doing whatever. And I think in many ways teens are sort of mirroring this popular culture in what they produce in these video blogs on YouTube, where they're really sort of putting it out there, and again, in this confessional culture, sharing about who they are because they want validation, right? They want the ratings, they want the feedback, they want the stars, they want the comments. If you're a teenager, you want validation. It's part of what is, again, helping you figure out who you are. And I think the instant feedback that teens get online is a huge driving force for them. And that's, of course, Soldier Boy, I think in a piece study here at CES, actually, that, this notion of coming out of nowhere, creating a video and having it end up being the #1 hit single, literally from nowhere, doesn't happen to everyone. The kids know this narrative, and I think that they're definitely, not all, but some of them want their shot at it. And then, just in terms of validation, sometimes it's just about impressing their friends and putting it on there and getting the feedback from them as well as part of figuring out who they are. Okay, so I'm going to close, and then if there's time for you to ask any questions in the chat. But don't forget, being a teen is the most social time of your life. For however much we're Twittering and Facebooking and everything we're doing, again, we're not doing that 24/7 quite in the same way that teenagers are, I don't think. It's about trying out different identities, as we talked about, requiring lots of validation. So the tech that you make and how you market it, if you can meet these core needs at a price that they can afford, I think you'll definitely be a hit with teenagers. So, yes.
My daughter was humiliated when she found out I had a Facebook account. Yes. I went through a lot of grown-ups going on now. Do you think that's an impact on what we can do?
Yeah, I definitely think it is. I actually had a high school journalist email me and say, I wanted to interview you because now there are a bunch of old people on Facebook, and I wanted to see what you have. So great, I'm finally old. But yeah, this is the new issue, and I think what I think is going to happen. I think social networking is all about where your friends are. So I don't see any sort of real big movement yet. I think that a lot of teens and parents are negotiating this. I think we're going to see more privacy settings and more sort of partial profiles happening, where especially with older teens, mom can only see this and this, and we talk about it, and it's cool. But I do think, part of what's happening with my yearbook sort of going up in popularity, and I think other sites that are more youth-centric, I think about College Tonight, because with Facebook now that it's become more massive, it's no longer a youth site, I do think there's still a need for communities where it is really their peers, and they do feel like there's no adults who could possibly see their profile. So yeah, they could move. I haven't seen a mass movement yet, but I do see these other sort of youth-centric sites kind of picking up. More questions? Yeah.
Twitter. You mentioned it before. What's the primary use case among teens on Twitter?
I don't see a lot of teens on Twitter. I see it in college students. I think college students and young professionals. So I would say that like 18 to 24 is who's on Twitter, and the numbers are growing, but it's still, I mean, it's such a small. The Twitterverse is growing, but it's still very small. In terms of youth, that's who's Twittering. I think teens who are on Facebook or MySpace, it's all about their status and their news feed, and it's happening that way.